All right, I'm on my lunch break, so I got time to tell y'all a little story. So the other day, pay attention, okay? The other day I had a dream. In the dream, my ex that I was dating and my ex-husband, right? They both appeared before me in the dream, and they gave me back everything that they took with them. So as I took the things back, I was like, wow, this is mine. When I opened, the first one I opened was from my ex, right? He's just standing there. I opened and I said, oh, this was mine, and this was mine. This was mine. I said, okay. I opened the other, first of all, the bag that my ex-husband gave me. Oh my God. Huh? Okay. It was a big, huge garbage bag full of stuff that was mine. Remember, my ex had a smaller bag, and then my ex-husband had this big, huge garbage bag. So I was like, wow, this is mine. And he's like, yeah, this is yours. And I said, all right. I opened the bag. Shoes, clothes, stuff that belonged to me from the past. Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da. I said, what the So I woke up. I said, God, I don't know. I don't know what that was. Okay? But I'm going to need you to show me in the Bible where this is. Huh? Because some of y'all think sex is just sex. It's not just sex. Huh? Some of y'all, ladies, we know when you have sex with a man and that man all of a sudden walks out that door that next morning and you start feeling empty. You feel like something just left you. I'm about to explain what that is. Okay? Because I got my items back. Huh? Listen, okay? So, I'm telling God, I said, listen, and prayer is literally just talking to God. Sometimes you could just wake up after a dream and be like, God, I don't understand what you just showed me. But I'm trusting that you finna explain it later on, okay? So, a week or two goes, I can't even lie to y'all. A month goes by. And I had this dream in the back of my head, and I said, God, whatever you gave back to me, Lord, thank you, okay? Thank you. God finally answers my question. In the Bible, you have the story of Judah and Tamar, okay? Remember, we have read these stories before, but we read it with our physical eyes and not our spiritual heart and mindset, okay? So I go back, and I'm like, so sometimes I'd be lazy sometimes, and I'd be like, you know what, let me just listen to a Bible story on my phone. Sometimes while I'm driving, I'll just plug it in and just listen. So the Bible story is just playing, and I said, oh my God. Listen, okay? So, Tamar is in the Bible. Tamar's husband dies. Judah, which is her, what do you call the fathers that are the fathers of the person that you marry? Oh my God. Father-in-law. Judah is Tamar's father-in-law. And Judah was like, hey, my son died, so you're going to have to go after his brother. The brother didn't want her. Wasted sex with her. Wasted sex to God is semen that you waste instead of it going into a woman. Anyway, that's not the point of this. Stay focused, okay? So, back in the days, when a woman becomes a widow, because now, remember, both of them died. When a woman becomes a widow, she still has to marry within that family to keep this tradition and all that stuff alive, okay? Back in the Bible, okay? Listen. So Tamar said, so the father-in-law had promised Tamar, hey, I have a younger son. When he gets older, you can have him. However, you got to let him grow it to be a man because he's not a man yet, blah, 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 blah. So Tamar says, okay, whatever. So Tamar goes back to her homeland, and she's living there with her family. However, the younger son that's left of the family from the father-in-law is now grown, and Judah has not called Tamar back to marry his younger son, right? So she was like, listen, I'm going to get mine. I'm finna get my inheritance, because back in the days in the Bible, inheritance was also included in a woman having a child, okay? That was a woman's inheritance back in that day. So, you know how like right now we fight for inheritance when somebody dies and we're like, oh, I need to get the living will, the trust fund, da-da-da-da. Back in the days it was a child, okay? Listen, pay attention, okay? So Tamar said, I'm finna go get my inheritance. So she said, I'm gonna turn myself into a harlot. She was not a harlot, but she turned herself into a harlot. A harlot right now in our days is a slut. Somebody that's on the street, they ask for sex, you give them money in exchange for sex. Pay attention. I'm getting to it, okay? So she said to herself, I'm going to get my inheritance, but I'm going to get it in the opposite way. Okay, but I'm going to get my inheritance. So she put herself on the street, dressed herself as a harlot, and waited for Judah to walk by. Now, Judah was weak when it came to women, okay, which is the typical man, okay? He was weak when it came to women, so he saw her, and he said, wow, blah, 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 blah. They made exchange. Listen to this. Now, he asked, what is the payment? Because some of y'all think sex is just sex. It is not just sex. There is an exchange spiritually when sex takes place, especially if you are the type of person that's been having sex with multiple people and you have not gone in prayer and released yourself from whatever was given to you spiritually from that other person. Because in the physical world, we call it STDs. But spiritually, things are removed from you and released. Are you paying attention? Okay, which explains my dream, because I was like, God, what are you talking about? Okay, so he asked Tamar for her price. She asked for a goat, but then she was like, listen, I need you to give me something that identifies you, right? So he gives Tamar his staff. Remember, a staff back in the day was like your fingerprint, right? Each person in the Bible had their own specific staff that if you looked at it, you know whose staff that was sitting there, okay? He also gives Tamar his signet. Signet was what we used to seal a letter so that everybody know that the specific letter was from you. It had your initials on it. And the cord is also what he gave her. The cord is attached to the signet. Now, if you convert that, because remember, I told you guys you have to start evolutionizing the Bible. If you convert the staff, the signet, and the cord, that is literally giving somebody in our time your identity, your fucking wallet. Go look it up. I'm not making this shit up. Okay? So, in our time, what Judah gave to Tamar was his wallet. Okay? Your wallet contains your identity and your authority. So women, when you go and you sleep with these men and you feel stupid after and you feel clingy after and you feel like you just cannot let go, baby, that man took your identity with him. When you had released and you got that orgasm, you released your identity to that man. So when I had that dream that these two men gave me back what was mine, my identity, that's what it means, right? So anyway, fast forward to the story. So Tamar, you know, they exchanged. He went into her. She finally got the baby that she wanted. However, she wanted to show him that she got what she deserved. So she went back and she said, she presented herself to the people and was like, I'm with child now, da 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 da. And they were like, oh, you're a whore, you're a whore. And she's like, I'm not no whore. It came from the family of the person whose items these are. I remember back in the days, those certain items were specifically for a specific person. She was like, this is the person's items that I slept with. And they knew that it was Judah. Your identity is removed from you when you sleep with a man without marrying him. That's why you're clingy. That's why you lose your mind. That's why when a nigga piss you off, you ready to cuss him out and throw him out. Because every time y'all had sex, you lost a part of you within that man. So you're not crazy. You are not crazy. It's just that your identity is lying in the person that you had sex with, that you're not married to. I hope I make sense. So if you're like me and God revealed to you that your items have now been returned to you, it's because you have been praying, you have been breaking the curses, and you have now received back your identity from the person who took it from you because you guys were not married. If you have not done this, go and pray. God will give it back to you. He will give you back your identity. Bye.